T-Bone and Heather in the morning on Star 98.3 and 97.7 The Bay.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to Friday, and look, here's Johnny.
Yay!
Good morning.
Good morning.
The birthday boy.
Oh,
Happy belated birthday.
thank you. Thank you very
Did you
much.
Did you have ice cream cake or?
I did. We're celebrating mostly on Saturday.
There you go.
Nice.
I forgot to take off work again. And to be honest, I couldn't have taken off work yesterday anyway. But the funny thing is my wife and kids took off.
Nice.
So they were there.
They celebrated.
They got me a nice breakfast in the
Nice.
morning, and my daughter made me lunch. And
look at that.
It was real nice. But we're going to do all the cake and stuff on Saturday. I appreciate
nice.
it.
Happy
Fantastic.
birthday.
Happy birthday, buddy. Well,
29 really feels
Does
like
it?
a lot.
Yeah, right.
Joints are a little creaky.
I was talking earlier. Maybe you disagree, but we'll talk about it. I watched the Chris Pratt, Millie Bobby Brown
Electric State.
Bon
There you go.
Jovi.
I found it almost unwatchable. I'm not going to say I hated it. That's too far. That's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
But I found myself like angry that I was watching it.
Yeah.
That was the level
And
of it.
so that's the thing, is those movies do exist. We hear about them so much from critic reviews and things like that it seems like every other movie's like that.
I didn't hear anything about this movie until it came out, so I was like, how good can it be?
Yeah. I mean, it's got Chris Pratt, Millie
That's
Bobby
why I watched it.
Brown,
Brown, Bon
Bon
Jovi,
Yeah.
Boyardee.
Right.
Right.
And it's obviously a big budget epic.
Huge.
It's got one of those YA type themes to it.
Stanley Tucci.
But yeah, you didn't hear a word.
I did not
so
hear a
you
thing.
knew something was going to be bad with it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I didn't find myself hating it. because I liked the two of them very much, and I'll watch them on screen. I mean, I guess this kind of proves I'll watch them do anything on screen, but it's missing in so many categories.
You just want to say do better.
Yeah, you're
Do
like
better.
You had everything here. You had the money, you had the talent, you had you what you needed to do is
And the Russo brothers, right?
yeah, and the Russo brothers involved too. So
But you didn't have the story.
didn't have the story, and that's what you have to start with. You
Gotta
can have
start there,
all
man.
the names in the world. I mean, that's why people are always like, "Oh, the death of the movie star." There's no movie stars anymore. It's like, well, no, it's just that the people in Hollywood forgot that the movie star never made the movie. They made people sit in the seats for the movie, but it was the story and everything around that makes the movie. If you don't have a story, you're telling a story. So if you don't have a story, you got nothing.
Right, exactly.
The perfect example of that would be like Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
You know, you got Jodie Foster and you got Anthony Hopkins, and so all right. But that's not enough. You still have to have a compelling character, compelling story, and they had all of it.
Right.
And so that becomes a classic.
Right. And one of the things people remember most about that story is not even those two. It's Buffalo Bob, Buffalo Bill, or whatever it is.
Oh,
Puts the
yeah.
lotion in the basket.
Puts the lotion in the basket.
Right. So,
Yeah.
what do we have coming out this week?
So this week we start with something that's kind of it's a cut above the Electric State, but Odessa, which stars Sadie Sink, who people would know as Max from Stranger Things.
Right.
Okay.
So my daughter was hook, line, and sinker for this right away.
I saw something about this.
Yeah, and it is a very in terms of color theme, it matches the Electric State almost exactly. But it's a dystopian, futuristic rock
There's
opera.
a lot of that.
Rock opera.
Yes,
opera.
It's a rock opera where she plays a girl who's going on a mission, and her music can bring light to the darkness, that kind of thing. Which, as cheesy as it sounds, can sometimes be really fun to watch.
Okay.
And this was fun to watch. It's just, if you're a rock opera, that rock part of it really has to be top notch.
It's got to be good music.
You have to have memorable music. Not just good music, but memorable music. You have to have songs that people are going to want to sing later. And I honestly don't remember a single song from it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously remember, but I couldn't sing back any portions of them, and I couldn't even hum back any portions of them. And I think it also tries a little too hard to be weird and to be what we'll call modern.
Okay. I hear
Not
you.
woke or anything, but
I think the entire genre's gotten lazy.
oh yeah, yeah.
I think the entire genre of movie making has gotten lazy. They have all these new artificial intelligence,
CGI
and special effects, and they just go, if we throw enough at them, then all the mouth breathers will go watch it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, that's not true.
Yeah, well, back in the day, and even not even going back to the 70s, but going back like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I guess we'll say, if you wanted to make a movie, it was an arduous process. Whether you're making something like Clerks in a convenience store, black and white, or you're making something like Independence Day.
Yeah.
It was an arduous process. The difference really was the money and the resources you had.
Right.
But now, it's funny because whenever it's kind of depressing too. Is when you see that people have the choice between working hard or cutting corners. They must always choose the cutting corners.
They'll always choose it.
And when you have things, when you can shoot a movie that ends up looking like a blockbuster on an iPhone,
right,
and you have apps that can add in special effects and things like that. It's not. The problem isn't that anybody can do it. The problem is that there's too many shortcuts. So they don't. And you'd think since you had the shortcuts for all those other pieces that you could spend more focus on the story. I don't think
should.
But it's like you can't split lanes. You're either in the shortcut lane or you're in the let's do it the right way lane.
Yeah.
And I think we get
so
stuck in
isn't that streaming? Isn't Odessa streaming?
Yes, Odessa is streaming on Hulu.
Right. Okay.
Which is confusing because I have they're all starting to get bundled now. The streaming wars have entered phase 2.
Right.
So for me, it's really
Hulu,
Disney Plus,
Disney, ESPN. Right.
Yeah, but it's Hulu, and then so in theaters you have another one that I really didn't hear too much about, and considering the story, it's amazing. It just tells you a lot about it. But the Alto Nights. Have you guys heard anything about this?
Nope.
It's Robert De Niro playing both Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, who I didn't know were apparently good friends in youth.
And he's playing both roles.
He's playing both roles, and throughout their come up and everything like that. And obviously it's gimmicky. You got, if you like De Niro as mobster, double the De Niro,
Is he
double your
anything
fun.
else? Other than
He
Monster?
plays the waiter. He plays the he just plays those two, the Vito Genovese and Frank Costello. Costello, obviously, Whitey Bulger. That whole thing. Jack Nicholson from The Departed.
Yeah, right.
And then Vito Genovese, everybody knows him. But the movie is fine. I wouldn't put it with The Irishman, which was like,
very long
and arduous to watch.
I think the movie was longer than the book.
Yeah. But The Alto Nights, it feels more like a very, very well done History Channel recreation type story.
Yeah.
Where it's telling the story of these two, and you have De Niro in both roles. And obviously, it's testament to his acting ability, but God himself is not good enough to let your brain obviously differentiate between the two.
Tough separation.
So it gets confusing.
How about Snow White?
Yeah, Snow White is next on the list. Obviously, a lot of buzz leading up to this, and usually, whenever you hear this much pre-release negative press about a movie, it's all bunk.
It's good. It's a great movie.
Yeah, the movie might not be great, but it's going to be at least good, and that's what Snow White is. I mean, the main thing I think a lot of people have problems with, and possibly rightfully so, because when we're seeing movies like this, we're seeing them for nostalgic reasons.
Right.
But any of these movies that are live action cuts of especially older animated movies, they have to make up a lot of time, because people forget, like Bambi, Snow White, Cinderella, those movies were like 75 minutes long,
right?
If that, because you had people drawing each cell somewhere in a torture shop at Disney Studios,
right?
So they, it's quite a bit padded. Rachel Zegler is great. I don't have any thoughts on her as a person, but as Snow White, I thought she nailed the role. She did very well. She has a beautiful voice.
How about Gal Gadot?
The only problem I have with Gal Gadot is, she is supposed to be the witch who's like, I'm mad because this young girl is more beautiful than me.
And
when
she's
in fact,
beautiful.
It's 1-to-1 at worst.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong,
beautiful.
Rachel Zegler is very pretty, but
it's a high bar.
Yeah, it's hard to put her in that role, but she is always, I don't think she'll ever be an amazing Oscar caliber actress, but every time she's tested, she she puts in a really good performance.
Yeah.
She's menacing when she needs to be.
Did you watch it with your daughter?
I didn't. No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, because I'm curious what the girls are going to think about it.
Well, it's weird because this will be, for a lot of little kids, their first foray into Snow White. They didn't grow up with the animated Disney.
Well, and I think we've talked about this before, but like even me growing up in the 80s and some of the 90s, we still played a lot of reruns on TV. I still grew up on Gilligan's Island and Looney Tunes and things like that.
Right.
But not only has that changed in the time since, but my kids don't even grow up on TV. It's whatever's on YouTube.
I know, right?
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
weird. Like I said something the other day about Bugs Bunny, and my kid looked at me funny. My son did, and I was like, "You don't know anything about Bugs Bunny, do you?"
Right.
He's like, "I know who he is."
Oh
I was
my gosh!
I failed as everything in school. Only other big release to worry about this week is Ash, which is a bit different than the rest. So that's your alternative view. It's a sci-fi horror. It's got Isa Gonzalez. I think I always say her name wrong, but basically it's a alien type movie-ish where this woman wakes up on a space station. Her whole crew is dead.
Oh, gosh.
There's a man that's there to rescue her.
Oh,
Does
gosh.
she need to trust him or not?
Right.
Very fun, gory sci-fi horror movie.
Oh,
all right. So
right.
we don't promote enough, but if folks want to see more of your reviews and stuff, your podcast.
Oh, yeah. PunchDrunkCritics.com is where all the reviews and interviews and all that good stuff are.
Awesome.
All right, buddy. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
weekend.